Good morning and welcome to News Desk here on Joy News Multi TV. Coming up, NPP flag bearer Nana Addo Akufo Addo warns of rigging in next year's general elections if the Electoral Commission fails to replace the current voters register. Meanwhile, pressure continues to mount on the EC to replace the existing voters register as pressure group Movement for Change also gear up to stage a protest march on the subject later today. And second Joy FM Technology Summit opens today at the Kofi Annan ICT Center for Excellence. The details of these and more coming up in the next one. My name is Kwabna Chenchenibwati. Welcome to News Desk. Thank you for making time to join us here on Joy News. Now, to our very first story, flag bearer of the opposition NPP, Nana Addo Akufo Addo, is warning the country risks having rigged elections next year if the Electoral Commission refuses to change the current voters register. Now, according to Nana Addo, the current conditions in Ghana point to the fact that the 2016 elections will be rigged. Now, speaking at a Heritage Foundation event in the United States yesterday, Nana Akufo Addo called on the international community to intervene in the raging debate in Ghana on the replacement of the existing voters register or risk discussing the aftermath of rigged and violence-related elections in 2016.
No one should take democracy for granted. Democracy must be protected at all times, and right now it is under threat in Ghana. The biggest threat facing Ghana's democracy is our fraudulent voter register. It contains millions of extra names. The register is bloated. It is estimated that upwards of 2 million of the registered voters are bogus. It is packed with ineligible underage voters and foreign and fake identities. If we're calling ourselves a democracy, this is unacceptable. This is a real problem, the kind that cannot be brushed under the carpet, as it provides the vehicle for manipulation and fraud. In 2012, we compiled a new register. The Electoral Commission captured allegedly some 13 million people. It set about to clean it up and came up with a figure of 14 million later. Ghana has a median age of 20. Yet we have over 55% of the population registered to vote. This is by far the highest in the whole of Africa and its young population. The numbers simply do not add up. We have presented evidence of tens of thousands of cross-border registrations of non-nationals on the register to the Electoral Commission. For a country where a margin of 40,000 votes can determine who wins an election, having a register bloated by over 2 million votes, 2 million names, is totally unacceptable. 3 out of the 5 main political parties have called for a new register. Our 2 living former heads of state, both President Jerry John Rawlings and President John Agyekum Kufuor, several important civil society organizations, religious leaders such as imams, the Christian Council, the Catholic Bishops' Conference, and others have also spoken out in favor of a changed register. On September 16th, a civil society organization, Let My Vote Count, took to the streets in demonstration for a new credible register. Much to everyone's shock, the peaceful demonstration turned bloody when police brutalized the unarmed demonstrators. This type of violence is a troubling occurrence in Ghana. Ghana has worked incredibly hard to preserve her democratic character. One administration shouldn't be allowed to undermine it. And at times, this requires putting the good of the country above partisan interests. In 2012, as you may recall, Ghana was on the knife's edge As a result of the Supreme Court ruling 5-4, rejecting the opposition challenge of the presidential election result. As the leader of the opposition, I decided that the interest of peace and stability require that my supporters and I accept the disputed verdict to prevent any possible turmoil. The hope is that the global community takes notice and urges change before the election, rather than looking back at the 2016 election, shaking their heads saying, how did this happen? We are telling you exactly how it's going to happen. All the pieces are in place for a rigged election. As Africans, we have witnessed election-related violence tear countries apart. We know what we risk should these problems not be addressed.
Wow. So what does Nana Addo Akufo Addo really mean by those words? Joining me over the telephone lines now is Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, David Agbe, who joins us live now. Mr. Agbe, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, good morning, Chanchanyene.
Now, how critical is the replacement of the existing voters register to next year's general elections? Let me ask, from where you sit.
I think that the electoral register is so important as far as all of us believe the fact that we need to cherish democracy. And democracy is an ideology. And so the world, almost about 193 countries, cherish and believe that democracy is the way to go as far as the world governance system is concerned. And so as much as we believe that we cherish democracy, we need to do everything such a way that we'll be able to guide all the principles. And so whilst we are approaching election year 2016, everybody wants or everybody is expectant such that we'll be able to have a credible electoral register. And so we cannot practice democracy without having a very solid register that everybody will believe that whilst I'm going into election year, I need to have a clean and credible electoral register. It is an established fact that we all need to have it. However, looking at the political discourse going on between the MPP and NDC, I would say that in political administration, one of the key things that we do understand is that if we are confronted with a particular situation, what we need to do is to consult our constitution, and then we'll be able to establish what that the constitution says. And if I should recall, Article 45 of our constitution gives a straight mandate to the Electoral Commission that at a point in time, they can compile a register, and that register needs to ensure, or that register needs to be respected by all the political parties. Here we are, MPP is accusing the electoral register or the Electoral Commission, saying that almost about 76,000 people who are Togolese are in our electoral register. And so my question is, how can we investigate and be able to come into a finality that the accusation being leveled against the Electoral Commission stands? I would prefer that if this allegation is anything to go by now we should expect that the MPP as a political party will go and report this matter to the
okay. So Mr. Gbe, let me hold you there. So from what you're saying, do we then gather that you are not entirely for the replacement of the existing register, but probably for it to be cleansed? Is that what you're suggesting?
My point is that it is a serious allegation for somebody to say that 76,000 people from Togo could come and appoint Ghanaians president for us. So if such an allegation is so serious, one of the things that we need to do is to investigate. Let's report the matter to the criminal department of the police, for the police people to investigate the matter. If we can even extend it, the MPP needs to go to court and check whether those people are real Ghanaians or they are Togolese.
So on that particular issue, what many are saying is that yes, then if we do have so many foreigners on our existing roll, why don't we cleanse it? Why don't we just get them off? Why the need for a new voters register? And particularly from the MPP, they've been quite persistent with this call. Wouldn't you say, well, wouldn't you agree with those who say that it's mark of desperation?
Let me say that, yes, it is true that we may have people who have passed away, died, or one way or the other, people that we could say that they are mad, or we could say that some people are also minors. If we can cleanse it, fine enough. Here we are, we've gone through all these kind of situations from 1996, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012. Every 4 years, I mean, people say that, yes, we should change the electoral register. But I believe that we should learn as a country such that we'll be able to do certain things that the international community will respect us. So my point is that now that the Electoral Commission has called for a debate on the issue on 29th and 30th, let's wait for the Electoral Commission being, able to be able to organize such a debate that the MPP and NDC will come and prove beyond reasonable doubt that, yes, the electoral register needs to be changed, or the allegation being leveled by the MPP is a fraud one. Okay,
so let me hold you on this particular one. Now, you speak of we giving the AC some time to react to this, to respond to this, particularly in consultation with IPAC, all the other parties involved. Now, to hear a flag bearer of one side, I'm talking of the NPP, use words such as rigging elections and violence-related elections and all. Is that not cause for worry, where you sit?
It does. It does in a sense that we shouldn't forget that Nana Addo is in abroad, and so he believes that the world system believes in democracy now. And so, come again, sir.
Yes, go ahead, I'm listening.
Yes, my point is that Nana Addo is alleging that the election could be rigged. And so the international community also wants to nurture Ghana's democracy. So while he is making the allegation, we should also find a way of controlling ourselves such that we do not paint our country black in the international world. We know that 2016 election is a very crucial one. It's almost about the 7th election after we entered into our 4th democratic dispensation. It's so important to every Ghanaian, but we shouldn't start by sounding that to the international community that somebody is going to rig the election or one way or the other. Let's try as much as possible to control ourselves for now and let the Electoral Commission work at all allegations being leveled so that we could all get a finality to some of these issues, whether we should change it or we shouldn't change it at all. So let's wait till 29th and 30th for the finality or the line to be drawn.
Finally, before you go, sir, let me ask, would you say that the NPP flag bearer erred in saying such things and actually calling on the global community to intervene in this particular debate ongoing here in Ghana?
I should think that Nana Addo should have been more moderate enough. But we shouldn't forget also that election is about power, it is about interest. And so whilst he's contesting as a presidential candidate, if he realized or if he perceived that certain things are being done to his disadvantage, he is sounding a certain caution to the international community. But I would have thought that you should have been more moderate enough of being leveling such an allegation that election is going to be rigged. On that score, I think that Nana Addo should have been more moderate enough.
Do you think he should apologize?
I should think that looking at the pedigree of Nana Addo and Ghanaians, system of politics, I should think that Nana Addo shouldn't have said that. But like I said, politics is about power, it is about interest. And so he lost the election 2008, he lost it again 2012. So third time, he is not all that convinced.
So you think he's desperate, essentially?
Come again?
Essentially, you think Nana Addo is just desperate?
I wouldn't say that word. I would like to say that Nana Addo should have been more moderate enough. Looking at his pedigree in Ghanaian society,
okay.
Nana Addo being a foreign minister, being an attorney general of this country, he has seen it all. So he should have been more moderate than what he said in the international arena.
I see. Okay. All right. David Agbe, thank you very much for your time. It seems you were a bit evasive in answering that particular question as to whether Nana. Okay. Well, David Agbe's line just dropped there. David Agbe is the executive director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. He shared with us his thoughts on that particular message by Nana Addo yesterday in Washington, D.C. We'll bring you much more on that in subsequent broadcasts. But still on the subject, Pressure Group Movement for Joint Action will this morning embark on a protest march in the eastern region to demand a new voters register. The group claims the existing register is bloated and lacks credibility, hence the need for its replacement. You can now speak to correspondent Kofi Sian, who joins us live now over the telephone. Kofi, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Okay, well, so Kofi Sian's line has dropped. We will try and bring him back on so that we can speak to him briefly on this particular one. But it has to do with the committee for the Movement for Joint Action, I must say, Movement for Joint Action, that are also pressing home demands for the replacement of the existing voters register. I believe we have Kofi Sian on the line now. Maybe we can speak to him if we do. Kofi, can you hear me now? Okay, so we can't join Kofi Sian now over the telephone. We'll come back to that particular story. But before we take our first break, a Supreme Court Judge, Justice Jones Doche, has admonished the public not to attempt to interfere in the justice delivery system through bribery or corruption. He cautioned the public to desist from visiting judges and court staff to try to influence their judgments. Justice Doche was speaking at the inauguration of a high court in Togakope in the Volta region.
Supreme Court Judge Justice Jones Doche was speaking in relation to the recent judicial corruption expose by the Tiger IPI team led by ACE investigative journalist Anas Arimia Anas. He advised the public to help in clearing the misconception that anyone can meet personally with a judge or a judicial service staff to influence judgments.
No court staff or the general public who thinks he or she knows any member of the court and therefore will use him or her as a conduit to seek favors. You all know the way that is going, and I urge you all to resist any such temptation. It is true, the judge has been here before as a circuit court judge, and many people know him. That does not mean you should use yourself as a conduit to reach the judge or any other member of the court.
Justice Jones Doche also appealed to judges to be fair to all parties in cases before them and endeavor to resist any temptation from the public. He, however, pleaded with judges to stop the practice of using bills to punish corporates in order to reduce overcrowding in prisons.
I also urge the court staff and my brother who will be presiding here not to use bail as punishment. Quite often, people of influence want to show their mind. If a small misunderstanding, they will sue you, apply for a stolen warrant, then they will throw you into, say you are running away to Togo, you are running away, so the court should put you where you want to be. Sometimes petty crimes, the judges remind people, the prisons are choked. It is true that justice delayed is justice denied. But it is equally true that justice rushed is justice buried.
The Deputy Volta Regional Minister, Francis Ganyaglo, noted that the provision of courts across the country is a sign of the growth of Ghana's democracy. It is the former South Tong District Library, which has now been into a High Court building. The change in usage has infuriated some residents. But the MP for the area, Kobi Woyome, assured that his office is in talks with an NGO to swiftly make available a library in the district. Chiefs in the district are, however, optimistic that the establishment of the High Court would facilitate resolution of numerous land disputes in the district. Fred Kwame Asare for Joy News.
You're still watching News Desk here on Joy News Multi TV. We'll return shortly with some more stories, particularly from the Volta Regional Capital, where the NDPC is now currently there for some consultations. We'll bring that to you right after this break.